Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, December 13th, and we've got a slightly muted start to the week. This is Morning Market Movers, where we do live analysis for day trading. I'm Todd Rich with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple, Brian Caprice. It is a quiet start to the week. What we are going to look at are equities are looking to try to start at least slightly in the green. And then we're going to take a peek over at those metals. We do have the Fed speaking this Wednesday. They're making their interest rate decision. And while we don't expect any interest rate changes on Wednesday, we are going to get a glimpse into what the taper looks like. Are they going to speed up? At what rate are they going to stop buying those bonds and those other assets? And when would they potentially start raising interest rates next year? So we are going to get a glimpse at that. And I think there's some interesting things happening in silver and gold going into Wednesday's announcement, at least, and then we'll get some color commentary. That's Wednesday afternoon. We've also got the euro, the European Central Bank on Thursday. They're going to be discussing that, and then there are some things going on with the pound and the yen. So I think that's where we're actually seeing some volatility today. Before we kick into it, I am going to do this quick disclaimer that trading involves risk, and may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We're doing this for your education purposes. So Brian, I'm going to flip it over to you, and let's start with the equities, and then let's take a look at those metals going into the Fed, and then we could certainly talk about that pound yen, what's going on over there.
Yeah, trying to lay the kind of groundwork for the indices today. Obviously, I mean, no real news today. Clicking everything of medium or high importance, all the countries, all the different types of news events. We got nothing. The only thing we have is a stress test, and then Governor Bailey is speaking at 12:30 today, Eastern Standard Time, talking about the financial stability of the UK. That may have some spillover, but for the most part, there's not really a whole lot of, um, you know, crazy news headlines or anything really kind of dictating what the open of the indices market is going to look like today. The weekend was pretty kind of just generalized comments. U.S. inflation painfully high. There may be some release coming. New Zealand is actually releasing the next reduction. I guess it announces a further reduction of Auckland coronavirus restrictions as things are going down. Really, the only negativity we've seen whatsoever. Boris Johnson a few hours ago, what did they come out at 6:56 this morning? Said that there's a confirmation that there's at least one patient that has now died from Omicron. So in reality, that's the first patient we've seen so far that has died of Omicron or has been tied back to. I don't know, how they're testing if anybody passes away, if it's Omicron or not, but it's the first news we've heard at all. So not necessarily the best news going into a Monday morning. We'll see if the media catches on and if it just kind of becomes a
They're
hot
going to
point for today
amplify
or
that.
not.
One person in the UK has died. I mean, how
Yep.
many people have gotten the Omicron? How many people have had Omicron globally?
Yeah.
You know, you know.
Yeah. I, seen zero numbers on that stuff. Yeah. So
Well, it's sad. I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to, but you also don't know anything.
Yeah.
Was the person vaccinated at all? Did they, who, you don't know anything, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, all we're hearing it is milder, and again, that's what we've heard up until this point that it's mild. Now there's a confirmed case, so yeah, we've no idea. We just know that, and then a lot of the news that we've seen this right here that the vaccines were substantially less effective in warding off Omicron compared to previous variants, and I think that's something we're going to see going in the future, just like the flu. Um, we did hear news out of Moderna last week about their flu vaccine. They have an RMNA flu vaccine, and people were kind of beating up Moderna for it. It worked. But everyone's like, oh, it's not more efficacious than what we have right now, and it was interesting. They talked about, they expected it would be better, but it's like, no, it's not. We're not saying that it's better. It's just another
different,
alternative. Yeah, it's
right?
the same thing as J&J was old technology, and it wasn't they were saying that J&J was any better or worse than Moderna or Pfizer. It's just different technology. So it was kind of strange that everybody kind of beat Moderna up over that. And it was interesting. They said in there that flu shots every year are only 40 to 60% effective. So it's kind of like I think people have kind of a like, oh, vaccine must be 90%. So interesting news, but that's all we've seen. That's the only kind of negativity. So Bailey talking about
Although
where
there
things are
is the
going.
one other thing on the vaccines, while you might still get it, and we don't have the number. I don't have the numbers on me, but if you do get the vaccine and then you do get the flu, it's generally a milder case, just like it is with COVID, that your mortality rates drop a vaccine. So yeah, you could still get it, but it might, it's less likely it'll kill you.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said,
And
I
that's
think
true for the flu too, by the way.
yeah, I think
So
going forward, and it's the same thing. We have Tamiflu for the flu, where if you know you have it, it basically shortens it to like 2 days. Merck has
right,
now gotten their pill through. There's another pill out there as well for people that get COVID. Immediately taking these pills is basically like
yeah,
the
you have
life.
to
And
get those in 24 hours of,
mhm,
So yeah,
yeah,
that's
and
even,
it's the same thing. Yeah, yeah. So, but again, good first step. Anyway, as far as what that does with the indices, like I said, right now, looking at the VIX is spiked up just a little bit over the weekend. And again, we didn't have any major headlines. Russia did not invade. A couple small rumblings there, but it is up just slightly right now. So again, the VIX is not really telling us a lot until we get into the markets. Again, not really a technical buy and sell type commodity here, but we do see that price has been in this area before, and this seems to be an area where it pops from. So the stage is kind of set. If the news media locks onto this Omicron thing all weekend, because that's all the news that there was, then
yeah,
again, it's going to be. It just shows you how much kind of sway that the media has over kind of what investors are thinking for the day. When you looked at where is it? I mean, you can see scrolling at the top. Stocks making big moves in the pre-market because Harley Davidson, Arena, Peloton, and more. Trying to bring us breaking in, but right now, again, overall, we don't really see a whole lot there.
right. The
Looking.
Peloton story is a whole different one. You know why Peloton's moving?
No, I don't.
This is crazy.
I don't watch Peloton. Yeah.
I only know this because my wife watches the show, but Sex in the City. I don't know if anyone out there has been watching, the comeback of that show.
Didn't know it was coming
I
back.
want to do a spoiler, but I'm doing a spoiler anyway.
Mhm.
But there's a character that has a the character that they write off the show. Let's put it that way, because they were exercising on a Peloton, and so you have a fictional character who dies in a
really?
TV show, and
Great.
Peloton stock took an 11% hit.
Oops.
Because people are saying, oh my God, you ride a Peloton, you might have a heart attack and die. So
There we go.
this is what
If it's on TV, it must be true, right? Yeah. So yeah, and what I would say is right now, looking at the indices, I would say, right now on a purely technical basis, they all look like to me that they're going to continue to push lower. Now the ES does have a level above that I do like. It's kind of one of these areas where it was a nice big strong push through, went through a psychological level at 4,700, gave us a decent base and then popped again. And I liked the base. It was a one candle red, had three candles all going a little bit higher. Typically those are pretty nice little areas. So, this is one of those areas we have a bit of time. If we go down here, whoops, nope, didn't want that one. Whoops, misclick, Monday morning.
You and I both need some coffee this morning.
I'm drinking coffee. It's just not working for me today. There we go. This level down here at 4703. This is a potential area that, if we continue to push a little bit lower, I know we only have 2 more bars, and that seems like a big spike. It could be an area where we have a potential bounce. Like I said, you're seeing new highs put in. You're now seeing lower, basically since really the European market opened here, and by 4:30 put kind of a new top in the overall market. At least in the ES, we're seeing a push lower. So, without any really positive news, I guess all the earnings stuff, to me right now, it looks like it's going lower, and I'd actually be a bit cautious because if the media does run away with this today, this is a level, and if you look to the left of it, you guys can see these candles. I make it big for it. There's no wick here. There's no wick here. There's really a very small wick and another wick here. This is making me wonder that, hey, listen, if we don't take a bounce off 4703, we have this entire area here as a racetrack that we may be able to push down to, and prices may come down and touch 4680 today. And again, not really any positive news. We know what FOMC is going to pretty much say on Wednesday. So is the market going to start its adjustment now so it can be, quote, priced in before Wednesday? I mean, we know that they're going to,
right.
Yeah, they're gonna start the taper. How fast? How many interest rates? None of these things are going to be positive for the market. But most of the time, the market moves before the actual release. So wouldn't be surprised if this one comes down. And the ES is, I'd say it's it's lagging a little bit. NQ is a little bit higher. NQ is holding. It doesn't have the same type of pushback. It is in an area, if I extend this across, we already know that this has been an area of sellers before. And again, huge bounce off of it. Bounce here on the 12th, late last night. pushed down, came back up and touched it at 6:30 p.m. and it's starting to roll as well. So it is also in an area. It also has an area right there that has kind of that similar pattern with the base with the 3 ascending candles. But then we also have the racetrack behind it as well. So NQ is a little bit stronger. And again, NQ is stronger partially because of, if you look at Apple, Apple's gapping up from where it closed on Friday. So that's probably a big reason NQ is moving, although it's starting to print red. Tesla is kind of holding exactly, but again, in the overnight, not that it's a lot of movement, but you guys can see that we gapped up on the Sunday, and that's slowly been kind of grinding back down
really
again. So
really muted. I mean, everything's kind of quiet right now.
Yeah. Again, lack of headlines. But again, that's why the NQ is the strongest right now, up 0.35%. Looking at the YM is actually negative, and you can see kind of what we drew over here in the ES. It's just kind of exaggerated here. Came back up. Talked about last week hitting that 36,000. We hit it, and then look at this, just top, all the way down again. So this level should be. I got to move this one up. We'll just delete it and do another one. Right there. And again, you guys can see all these hits right on top of that 36,000. So we know that 36,000 is a big one, like 1,800 was for gold, 4,700 in ES. So again, this one has that kind of pattern, but guess what? We're already at it right now. Any continued negativity with this one, again, we come back down and we hit 35,800, and we may even potentially get a little bit lower here. This one ran out of steam.
So speaking of gold, let's jump over to gold and silver. I mean, because it's just the equities are just so quietly muted this morning. And
but and gold is I would say gold had a quick bounce.
Silver more.
Yeah, silver is always going to be a bigger mover. I mean, here's gold. The Europeans opened the market right here and literally kind of found some buyers, came up, hit that area of sellers up top, and then pushed right back down again. So gold is only up 0.06. There will be some movement, probably most likely today and tomorrow in preparation for CPI, or I'm sorry, the FOMC notes on Wednesday. But we kind of already know what they're going to say. And remember, what they say is to crush inflation. These are inflation plays. So they're getting ready to get rid of inflation. Not necessarily the best sign for gold. Silver, popping a little bit, but I would say if you look to the left and kind of see where prices hit this 22.35 level, this is an area right here where we did kind of have some selling, right? Again, that was back on the 9th. It's an area of sellers. It's been punched through, but kind of the same idea. We have a level right here of basing, and actually, I'll just drag this one down. We got this level of basing right here, and we've kind of pushed through it. We ended the week there. We opened up again higher. It's kind of looking at that. It's like, if we break that, there was this big pop. Could there be a short opportunity here if silver decides to turn negative on us today as well? And again, it's an if this, then that base trade.
On silver, real quickly, I just thought this was rather interesting. And I'm going to sneeze. I'm just looking back at our silver chart from last week. And we did have silver, and I'm going to extend this out a little bit. Excuse me. Something just got to me. We had that sell-off Thursday going into the CPI numbers last week. And, silver really got hammered going into the CPI. And they did that all before the number came out. And then the number came out, and yes, silver went down a little bit further, but now it has climbed all the way back out. It's testing that Thursday move. It even moved some on Wednesday. It is kind of interesting how the move happened before the number. It's almost as though they're setting this up before Wednesday's FOMC, and so we could see, and we might see some action early this week in silver, just as people prepare for that FOMC meeting, and then turn it around after the Fed talks.
And a lot of that's going to be kind of where they pre-position it. Like I said, if you're going to start crushing inflation down, typically you're going to want to raise the price on that one, because if inflation is disappearing. And remember, silver is also one of those ones that is tied with the industrial metals as well. Again, silver is partially tied with China. When China's industry and everything is going gangbusters, there's a demand for silver on the industrial basis, not a secondary hedge to inflation through gold. So again, there is that factor as well. And there was a little bit of Chinese news, but nothing, substantial there. But I would say, a break of, again, if you guys know how to set alerts, setting an alert at 22, you could do 13. I have it, I set it here at 12, 12.9. That's an area to watch out for. If we can get a little hair powder bounce down, I think price can get back down to this 21.84 in silver today. And like I said, gold is now in the red. Gold is already turning. You can see first started talking, silver's up 0.65. Now it's at 0.5, 0.49. So it's starting to have some issues. We'll see what the U.S. trader does online. And again, oil is already starting off in the red as well, too. Gold came up and bounced off of that 72.98, that same level we saw before previously. And again, took a small bounce lower. Remember, oil tends to, kind of pick up, in a bullish sense when the U.S. trader steps
All right.
online. So with
Let's
it
wrap it
pushing
up.
down, could go long.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say let's finish up with the pound yen. We said that the pound yen was what was
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's important to note right now. So there's a stress test result. I don't expect anything funky to come out of the bank stress test. Bailey talking about the financial, again, financial stability report. Him making comments about it. I think he's going to give us the standard precautions. But looking at it pre-market, you can see that we're seeing pound strength, even versus the dollar, stronger than the dollar right now. The pound dollar is up 14, pound yen up 66, euro pound down 19. I think it's something to watch out for when we get a little bit closer. As you can see, we're kind of looking for this to come all the way down. So we had a 50% level, which we were looking for. I would say pound yen is probably where you're going to want to play this one. I'd like to see this kind of push up a little bit more. I would assume that he's going to be very cautious with what he says. I mean, obviously you say, yeah, it's very, very strong, very robust, but it's going to be that butt piece. And
yeah.
again, the butt will make it interesting because, like I said, there's one confirmed case of somebody passing away. If he talks about how Omicron is still going to play such a major risk in things like that we may have to, maintain, funding of whatever, yada, yada, yada. Anything weak, again, he's not going to, it's not going to be like, hey, you know what? We're so strong, it's time to raise interest rate. No, it's not how it works, right?
Yeah.
Particularly with somebody passing away. So I would say with this rallying up right now, everything being high, going into that lunchtime release, I would say this is more set up for some type of a short. There are levels above, pound yen has it. Pound dollar, we're already sitting up top. We're looking for this one. We're looking for it to spike, and it kind of it capped lower and pushed. It didn't get all the way just from the news event. It took a very quick hit. And again, you can see that there's levels here where we have sellers. We have one a little bit above. So I would say they're all kind of set up the same way. Euro pound, again, on the low side, we know that we do have some people here just below it as well. So they're all kind of set up the same way. But I think going into this release, look to see where prices are in the half hour beforehand. And again, the market's closed, so it's purely it's going to be a lower volume, so it's going to be easier to move. But I think we look for a reversal in the pound later on today, particularly if we start to see some dollar strength come in. The pound dollar may be the best one to play it. So
there we have it. All right. With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Any questions for Brian? And I love that Brian is accessible. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to email Brian at support@keeptradingsimple.com. What did we look at today? Equities having a slightly muted open. We do have the FOMC this Wednesday. We're seeing the metals, gold and silver, making a little bit of a move before the number. We saw that happen last week before CPI. We're now seeing, moves happening in gold and silver, a little bit of volatility before the Fed gets into it. And then with what's going on with England, with the UK, that's actually, we're seeing that pound strength across the board, some potential opportunity there. That's actually probably barring some strange news, that might be the place to be looking at this morning for some volatility and some potential trading opportunity. With that, Brian and I will catch you again tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you then, and